After leaving the Blood Omen Alpha version's expanded Willendorf tunnel, we emerge into the northeast of Nosgoth and the Stahlberg rampart. Or rather we should, but with the tunnel exit not connected, we're forced once again to make use of the level select. The biggest change here is the general environment. The Alpha version is green and pleasant, with a mixture of grass and mud tracks, while in the retail, this was changed to an area with heavy snows. Indeed, almost all the patches of grass are turned to snow by the retail version. The first tower leads back to the level select at OL 8A. The small inner rooms housing the gate levers are identical to their retail counterparts, but there are a group of wolf enemies outside that appear only in the alphas. Progressing through the underground of the rampart takes us through another area that's largely the same as retail, and emerges in the north of the map area. Here again it's the general environment that's the main change, along with a missing cliff in the north of the area. Moving northward into Stahlberg finally brings the snow to the Alpha, and the map tile is largely identical to the retail, save for a couple of minor cliff alterations. The interiors consist of the same 4 open buildings as the retail version, with only minor furniture differences, and 2 of the buildings have style changes, with walls and floors changing theme. However, the most notable change is that 2 houses feature the corpses of Nemesis soldiers on bare earth, as if they've been killed, and the occupants are in the process of hiding them. Which begs the question, did Stahlberg have a secret resistance movement, working against the legions of the Nemesis?
As daylight chases darkness, the vampire's power wanes.
Moving northward, we pass through the impressive Nemesis Colossus. But the gates to the Nemesis Keep are locked, and the tile is virtually the same as in retail.
it to have been ripped from the chest of the greatest vampire to have ever existed, Janos Audron, the Heart of Darkness.
Following the path west takes us to the Gate of the Lake of Lost Souls. This tile is also virtually identical to the retail, but has an additional shortcut to the long and winding road and lightning dungeon on its western edge. The island at the bottom of the lake, which is unoccupied in the retail, is not so absent here, with a group of will-o-wisps in residence.
A medley of death and evisceration. Let fate choose my enemy's demise.
One interesting thing to note here is that many of the bonuses around this area, which are counted as secrets in retail, do not count in the alpha, but still give the clicking sound cues, as if a secret has been gained. In the far north, the area around the top of the lake is largely the same as in retail. Progressing into the Dollmaker's house, it's much the same story as with many other main dungeons. Much as the same layout with some minor changes here and there. The initial entranceway lacks the bottom right door that leads to the save altar. The save altar it led to is actually still present in the level, but is positioned further along. The western wing of the house appears much the same as retail, but with a slightly longer ice section. Throughout the house, traps are slightly downgraded compared to the retail version. Green spike balls are used instead of the upgraded red ones used in retail. The eastern wing is much the same story, with the house appearing virtually the same. Although a previously unseen frozen corpse stuck to a wall is an unexpected highlight, reminiscent of the unexplained frozen house found elsewhere in the alpha. The northern passage is also similar, although it has an extra bar to jump along the top. And it should also be noted that the side passage leads to a different room. But we'll get to that shortly. In the next, largely darkened area, a slightly brighter floor switch is the only change of note. The pre-boss save altar is not present in the alpha.
Elzevir, I have come for the soul.
So, Otmar sent you to kill me, eh? I can smell him on you. Or is that the stench of the grave?
Moving into the Elzevir preamble gives us an area with a bar shape slightly altered from what is known in the retail. And teddy bear door toppers are also not present.
Dollmaker, I have no time for these games.
The soul is mine! I earned it! Otmar gave it to me!
Then you shall earn it with blood. What an odd little man. Now, to find the soul.
You shall not have it! Mine! 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 Farewell, my love.
The Elzevir boss battle is much the same, although his teddy bears are given a much more spectacular explosion of stuffing when they die.
With blood. What an odd little man. Now, to find the soul.
The bed is also absent from the final room, suggesting it was added to the room for the retail version.
Elzevir imprisoned the girl's soul in a small fabric doll. The old man's intentions I shall never know.
When Elzevir is defeated, the game pulls a little trick. In both versions, despite appearances, Kain doesn't return to the same room he came in, but instead returns through a copy of the preamble that looks identical. The coding of the room changes between versions. It's counted as a boss post-amble at 518 in the alpha, and a regular dungeon room at 4310 in the retail, but bears the same shorter bar as the preamble. Although this time it has only one of the door topper sets. Both doors would have them in retail.
I can sense your lust, warrior. Take of me what you will.
An interesting wrinkle here is that entering this room in the alphas causes a number of inappropriate sound files to play. Among them is a deleted line attributed to Sukubai in the scripts. Exiting leads us back through one of the previous chambers, but the unused door at the bottom has a last twist. In the retail, it connects directly to the side door in the northern passage, but in the alpha, it leads to the missing save room, which will eventually reside in the entrance passage. Except here, it has 2 doors to allow passage through, rather than the one seen in retail. Passing through then takes us back to the northern passage, and we can press on to the exit of the Dollmaker's house. Before we go on, let's cover a little sidetracking that can be done before the Battle of the Last Stand. In the retail game, although it's not strictly necessary, it is possible to explore a little of the Nemesis keep. Once the Dollmaker has been completed, the outer door to the fortress opens, and Kain can progress through. Although his progress through the main gate is blocked, he can use the side passage to explore and find the Pentalich of Tarot Spirit Forge. And a cave, which leads through to an area inside the castle gates. This means that a couple of areas inside can be explored, allowing Kain to see a save altar and the first open passageways. However, soon after, he'll run into locked doors. These doors have no connections beyond them, and the rooms of the rest of the castle don't exist in the initial time period. For the Alpha, a similar situation occurs, but a few things are slightly different.
A medley of death and evisceration. Let fate choose my enemy's demise. These curious devices hurl bolts of whirling energy and eviscerate my
Like many of the
human
other
enemies by
forges,
stripping
the
ragged
Pentalich Spirit Forge has a much smaller entrance room, which is poorly connected and difficult to enter. The second cave is also slightly different. Another branch of it exists with a locked door. Although it's unclear what causes the door to open, it is possible to bypass it to reach a room with a mural of the time streaming device. Nearby on the cliff is another time streaming device mural in front of a cave which is not connected. The purpose of these rooms are unclear, but it could suggest an alternative use of the time streaming device, potentially something similar to the time streaming chambers seen in Soul Reaver 2. Following the cave the other way leads behind the castle walls like the retail version. But here, the internal areas of the keep are not connected and are not present in the files, and it's not possible to explore inside the building. Returning to the main path, at this stage the game would usually expect the player to return to Willendorf. Unfortunately, the structure and connections of the Alpha make this a bit difficult, but it's possible to get there. This triggers the dialogue from Kain about returning the doll, but the Battle of the Last Stand is not forthcoming.
I entered the court with the Dollmaker's head in one hand and the doll containing the girl's soul in the other. I placed them both before the king and watched his eyes catch fire. With the doll in their possession, the court sorcerers could restore his daughter's soul.
There's an entry for it in the level select, but this is not connected. Like the Blood Gout and Avernus internal areas, the battle can be reached with some technical trickery. This shows that the area of the battle is in fact a tile smaller than the version seen in retail. The second middle tile in retail is not present in the alpha, and the top and bottom tiles connect directly to each other. The areas of the battle that are present keep much the same layout as the retail version, but feature a number of minor changes.
In the distance I saw the Nemesis armies march forward, a black tide that would soon wash over the armies of the Hope.
The alpha has more tree stumps, but fewer fire effects. Towards the top of the south tile there is far more battle debris, like boxes, bodies and weaponry. The same sorts of changes are seen in the northern tile, with more tree stumps, weaponry and bodies evident. One noticeable difference is that the Alpha stops at the edge of the tree line, where the retail version adds a small extra clearing and a castle.
They came at me in throngs, no fervor as strong as that inspired by a madman. The Nemesis armies were fierce and showed no signs of subsiding.
Reaching this would usually trigger the transition to the next time period. But to trigger that transition in the Alpha, it's necessary for us to kill Otmar.
The tides turned with Otmar's death. I watched as the remaining survivors of the armies of hope fled to the forest. The battle had decided its victor. The fate of Nosgoth now lay in the Nemesis' hands.
Main victor! Main victor!
The tides turned with Otmar's death. I watched as the remaining survivors of the armies of hope fled to the safety of the forest. The battle had decided its victor. The fate of Nosgoth now lay in the Nemesis' hands.
The Nemesis and his horde fall upon us, my friend. I fear I can defend Nosgoth no longer. The Nemesis must be destroyed. For my daughter Kain. For the world.
It will deliver you in time.
The forces of the horde would soon reach me. Of the artifacts I possessed, there was one which may provide escape.
This prompts a brief flashback to Ariel's line concerning the time streaming device, and a previously cut line more fully explaining the usage of the device, before Kain is warped to the middle of the woods in the next area, which is prone to crashes if accessed this way.
At once the battlefield was gone. Where the ground was caked with blood and dirt, there was lush greenery. Where chaos reigned only moments before, this damning calm prevailed. Alas, it seemed I was stranded here. The time-streaming device lay in pieces at my feet.
Join us next time as we explore the past of Nosgoth, look again at Stahlberg, and enter the Nemesis Keep.